Okay guys, I'm here with Marcos, multiple time world medalist, won Nogi Worlds 2023, won Pans, Brazilian Nationals, tons of accolades I'm not going to go through, but he just finished beating the crap out of me for 10-15 minutes, and he was kind enough to share feedback. So kind of my three biggest mistakes, I would say. He gave me some tips, some very useful tips, some that I've actually never seen before, so I will share that with you guys. Marcos, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Like all great BJJ matches, it starts with a guard pull, and I try to keep my hands inside, my elbows tight to my body, because I am worried about his shotgun armbar. Despite that, he still hit it on me so many times. I sprawl to break that pant grip, and he winds back, kicks my leg out, comes on top. I enter the single leg X right away, so at least I don't start on a bad position from the bottom. I try to elevate him, but here, example number 2 of him already grabbing my belt and negating my attacks. And at the end of this video, you'll see when he shares his tips on how to be more effective and fix my mistakes, grabbing the belt and using that was definitely one of his tips. Whenever I play De La Riva, I don't like someone stepping backwards and eating my knee because it'll get too close to my hip. So I use my foot to block his thigh. And what he does is he controls my far foot and collapses my leg by dropping his hip to the ground, and he resets the position. But as I sit up, he punches his underhook, which is going to be very problematic, because his head is blocking me on one side and the underhook is blocking me on the other side. I try to elevate and rebuild my guard and off balance him, but he actually uses this to switch his hips and get into a leg weave pass. His chest is high here, but he's using his hand on my collar to pin my shoulders down. So I'm either looking for an underhook here or I'm looking to invert and rotate through and capture one of his legs, but his pressure is obviously very solid. I get the underhook and I'm looking for my belt grip, and I suspect that he's going to want to back step here and pass towards my back. So I just have to be a little bit active with the hook. And you can see me try to turn. I keep the hook in, and I manage to keep my hooks in. In the short few seconds that I start to celebrate, he passes to the other side. You'll also notice he always locks my hip rather than going straight for a high side control or a typical side control. He really locks down my hips. In this knee on belly position, I use it to go to a turtle, try to shoot back into a half. As he blocks that, I enter my butterfly, and again using that underhook and that butterfly. But he is really hard to move and off balance and really just do anything to. Thankfully I have long legs and I managed to maintain that hook on that attempted X pass. One thing he was so good at was actually bucket stepping. And again, he has my belt. You'll see this. He does this again and again to me. It definitely did demoralize me a little bit, just because I felt like I got to decent attack positions that I like. But the problem with playing butterfly and single leg X on a guy who came from Marcelo school is that just doesn't make sense. I try an ankle pick, but it's like trying to ankle pick a tree, so he doesn't really move at all. It doesn't even lean back, I think. He comes back in, and I'm in this half butterfly position once more, which I normally do like quite a bit. And I know he likes to cut his knee in between for that leg weave, and that belt grip normally signifies that that's what he's looking for. And there it is. And he switches in and out, and this is nice actually. He sprawls his hips so low that he's able to just step back and collapse my butterfly. And you would often see Marcelo do this when he was playing the top position. He'd kind of go right through the butterfly, which I always thought was so cool. It goes without saying that he's being pretty generous in this role. Kind of wraps my neck a little bit for the north-south. I turtle again. He keeps his legs just far back enough where it's a little bit hard for me to reach and have strength in my arms. So I sit to my hip and I try to use that to bait him to come towards me. But obviously someone at this level, there's nothing he hasn't seen before that I'm going to do. At turtle again, I went halfway through on a entry attempt, and I try to control the outside of his knee here so I can at least lock the orientation, and I managed to sit back through into a butterfly. Stylistically, this is a little bit of a nightmare matchup for me, because you have a guy who trained on Marcelo's and I'm a guy who plays butterfly and single leg X and X. His ability to maintain his balance and constantly bucket step makes it a challenge. See that beautiful bucket step of his, clears the second grip and starts some outside passing, which he didn't really do with me up to this point. I managed to secure 2-on-1 on an arm and build a connection to him. And you see how he grabs my pants here with his hands. What that does, it allows him to lift my hips a little bit and kind of immobilizes me. And that's how he always collapses my leg sideways into that smasher, that leg weave pass. And here, He's trying to get the underhook. I try to hide my elbow, but he was able to snag it upward. One thing I want to do is try to keep my elbows tight to my hips, so at least I'm in a more compact and strong position. And there it is again. You'll see this right here, how he's pinning my wrist even before the pass and drawing it away from my body. That was one of the other tips that I'm going to share at the end of this video, where he was giving me feedback. Once he said it, I started to realize how often he did that to me in the roll. Try to just keep my right elbow inside his hip, create some space so that when he goes for the north-south choke, at least there's a barricade and he's not able to make that connection. I try to shrimp out and turn to a turtle inwards and use my underhook also to force this turtle situation, or at least come up on the underhook. But again, quite difficult with the pressure that he puts on. I try to use that moment to build my guard by pulling my knee inside when he went for that slick mount entry. And here he's playing on that outside range again, but it's those bucket steps of his that are so hard to manage. When he steps, he doesn't step in a circular motion. He steps actually straight upwards. So any kind of X scenario, there you go, literally on cue. So that was really frustrating, I would say, because every time I felt I tied him up, I kind of fed him right into his game. Again, he sprawls on my hook and he controls my far leg, so I can't push and off balance him, and he kills my De La Riva like that. So I attach myself to the only thing that's available there, and I try to use my shin to shin to elevate him. But you can see he actually pummels using his other foot. And I swim underneath, try to elevate and go back to a single leg X position. But again, I know that's failed many, many times, but again, that's just my game. So kind of out of habit, I keep going there. Once again, I return to this X position and I try to stop his bucket step. You can see it's like so hard to prevent him from pulling his leg out. And he also has like very good balance. Once I get his weight on his hands, I try to come up and wrestle up to the top, but this guy is literally a tree trunk with excellent balance. What I found to be the biggest challenge with Marcos was I didn't know which guard to go to. You know, I played all of my favorite guards like half butterfly, single leg X, and those were all terrible ideas. He snaps my leg across and I turtle, but he keeps my hip locked in really tightly. We move away from the other people. You know, normally on a person I try to trap their elbow and roll through, but I just know that's not happening with him. Of course, he lets me get it here, and I thought this was pretty cool because he was talking about how he allowed his game to continue growing while not training at a gym full of killers and competitors. And he said he had to kind of put himself in bad positions and, you know, not always go for the kill. So this is a pretty good example of that. What I'm worried about here is the far side arm, my far side arm being trapped between his legs. I'm also worried about a choke from the back and a rear triangle. So kind of balancing all of those threats, I go back to turtle. My elbow is far from my knee, but I pull it back in. And maybe I'm thinking he wants to feed this lapel through for the choke. So you can see I kind of shrug my shoulders and I keep my hands in there to block. But once he catches it, that was a freaking beautiful choke. I was kind of almost happy about that. It was so nice. I'm trying to split his legs and stay in the inside pocket. And he switches to a De La Riva, and that cross foot in, my elbow collapses me and he tries to berimbolo me, and I just try to roll through. But that spider is there's so much tension in my elbow that I actually can't do much. So I just grab his pants and I try to come back on top. Obviously, I have to use my second hand to clear that foot, but now I'm loaded up on his lasso. With any of these lasso hybrid guards, such as a lasso butterfly or lasso De La Riva, I'm pretty worried because they're very effective, as you see with Nicholas Marigali. What happens is they lock your body into a position. So here he kind of flicks me over like a dog flicking off water. It's pretty funny how the amount of airtime I got there. He lets me back up. I try to keep my knee in the middle because I don't want to go in his closed guard, because that shotgun armbar from there is just a nightmare to deal with. Whenever I'm passing an open guard, something I try to do is keep a combat base, and you see how my knee always kind of, there's one knee in the center, and I try to keep my elbow tight to my knee because it stops a lot of attacks, such as a triangle or a closed guard or an omoplata. I try to long step out and clear his legs, but wasn't able to close his space because he shifted his head away from me. So that's the roll. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now I'm going to be sharing some of the tips that he provided with me. And again, you can see that combat base helped save me in that omoplata.
There's one job, secure your hip in place.
Okay.
If your hip is stabilized, there's nothing else.
I know, I couldn't do it. I just felt like locked into the ground.
So that happens for an X guard. So what's an X guard? Well, one again. Yeah. This grip, sink, stretch me away.
I can't, it's the weirdest
So I'm
thing.
pulling like a deadlift in your belt.
This is crazy. That was like, I've never had that.
So this, even if you put the belt, put me that way, now you need to stretch me away, which
I can't. Yeah.
Very powerful.
That's crazy.
So from here, I'm here, tight, hold it down. So now it's hard for me to extend.
Yeah.
So you're gonna bounce, bounce, bounce.
That's a good job.
Because the belt only works if you have a stronger base. Because you pull into it. But right now you're up, down, hopping, 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 and knock that base down.
And pushing the knee is kind of what guides the guy over. Okay, awesome.
Slide through, slide through, slide through. Go slide through. Your hip cannot act. Crazy, right?
That's super cool.
One thing that same thing applies from top. You like I don't know if you felt it, but I was folding sideways. I was folding behind, and I was here the whole time.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Getting the arm out extended.
Same thing, half guard. I'm here. Get underneath to do whatever I want.
Yeah, I can.
I cannot throw the hook on the hook.
Yeah, too far.
You know what I mean? So this is such a powerful way that you don't see these days. No G, this is amazing. The first can never get under you, hit hook on that. I got a dito from Marcos Tinocco. So have the lasso. You see how it was hard for you to clear?
Yeah.
So I was my knuckles against my thigh. This part against your thigh.
You just dig.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh man,
Small detail right there. I was
that's
kept
a
the whole
beautiful
time.
detail.
A lot of people focus on the elbow, which is good.
Yeah.
But the elbow sometimes, if the arm is slide here,
Yeah,
it's over.
I felt it was like stuck because I remember pulling and you didn't budge at all.
Without it. If you feel like you're losing the lasso, take the leg out. Anything else?
No, that was awesome.
That was amazing.
I really,